In this week's 48 Hours, we have an update on a death row inmate's fight for freedom. Kevin Cooper was convicted for the 1983 murders of the Ryen family and Christopher Hughes. But last year, California's governor ordered new DNA tests of the evidence. 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty has the latest.
My first visit to San Quentin prison to finally meet Kevin Cooper came shortly after he'd learned he'd get new DNA tests. We were not allowed to record the visit, but Cooper talked about his hopes that the tests would prove what he has said all along, that he was framed for the murders.
Finding somebody to pin it on was very important, and Kevin Cooper was a convenient person to pin it on.
Kevin Cooper's attorney, Norman Heil.
The problem was they didn't have the evidence.
Cooper's case has come into the spotlight in part because Kim Kardashian West, who also visited him, has taken up his cause, as well as New York Times columnist Nicholas Kristof.
There is an enormous amount of evidence that suggests 3 or 4 white perpetrators. I believe that there was evidence planted.
Cooper and his defense team hope that new DNA tests of the evidence might reveal other suspects, but they also worry that too much time has passed.
This evidence was collected years and years and years ago. At the time, evidence wasn't handled very well. It wasn't stored well.
And in fact, defense attorney Becca Barlow, a DNA specialist, says her worst fears were realized. Most of the DNA on the evidence was too degraded for testing, except for an orange towel believed to have been taken from the Ryen family home.
We have a single male profile that is not Kevin Cooper's.
And there's been another discovery. A vial that contained Cooper's blood all these years turned up empty.
To have an entire vial disappear like that raises all sorts of questions in my mind.
Cooper's defense team has also gathered more information, collecting affidavits from 5 witnesses who tie someone else to the case. Now Kevin Cooper has a new plea for the California governor, a full innocence investigation.
He is somebody who believes in the truth and is willing to fight for it.
And Erin joins us now via Skype. After reporting on Kevin Cooper's case for nearly 20 years, you finally had a face-to-face meeting with him. What was that visit like?
Well, it was a sobering experience. Now, I had talked to him dozens of times over the phone, but to actually go to the prison and see him face-to-face was, I think, beneficial. But we had to talk. Number one, we couldn't record it. We had to talk in a plexiglass box. I'm not exaggerating. That's what it is. He came across incredibly intelligent. He's very well read. And I think what surprised me the most was how optimistic he is, even after all these years, that at some point he will be able to clear his name.
Why do you think people, including Kim Kardashian West, have become so interested in this case?
I think it's because why we started on the case from the beginning. So you have one man who was charged and convicted for the murder of 4 people and the near murder of a 5th. And yet, from the very beginning, the one eyewitness said that there were 3 people. There was a car stolen from the house with blood on 3 seats. 3 weapons were used. There has always been much more evidence to indicate multiple assailants than just one person. And so I think that's why this case has gained so much celebrity, I think.
You've been working on this case for so long. Not much must surprise you, but was there something that happened this past year that you weren't expecting?
Yes, it's what I mentioned, and we'll talk about it more in our report tomorrow night on 48 Hours. But what surprised me was, so they think they took 2 blood vials from Kevin Cooper back in 1983. Only one has been able to be found. And in this past year, when they pulled that vial out, it was empty. And why that's significant is because the defense has always said that they believe that the blood had been planted on evidence. And so you do have to wonder what happened to the blood out of that vial.
All right, Erin, thank you for joining us and great work. You can watch the 48 Hours report, the troubling case against Kevin Cooper, tomorrow night at 10.